I'm Susan Jenkins with the Cherokee Preservation Foundation. I wanted to ask Tom a question. You have, with your Indianpreneurship, been working with a lot of CDFIs, and can you give us an idea of what is emerging as far as new businesses that you're seeing?
Is that on? Hello? Yes. Indianpreneurship is, she's referring to the curriculum that as a social enterprise has become a significant part of our mission and our revenue stream. In fact, it is critical to our survival as a social enterprise. And we do training and curriculum sales. Is that 30 second or 15 second? Thank you for asking that question. Actually, and this comes back to what I was saying about CDFIs, or community development financial institutions, as being sort of introduced notions by virtue of the fact that they're generous ideas about carrying capital to a place that needs capital, with a lot of inherent structure in that program. And what CDFIs promise is debt capital in communities to support entrepreneurship. The reality is that especially at the startups phase, debt capital is a very inappropriate kind of capital to finance an early stage business, although entrepreneurs do it all the time, credit cards, friends, family, and associates. But still, it's not the most desirable kind of capital. And so we're exploring, by using the World Bank model, for example, a way of creating business equity capital injections into promising ideas using a business plan style competition that's based on the Alaska marketplace model that the Alaska Federation of Natives manages in Alaska. And it's fundamentally what that does is, where I'm getting to is that the reality is that by injecting capital into any place doesn't necessarily generate a particular stream of business or deal flow. That has to come out of the entrepreneurial spirit and the opportunity analysis that they do at the local level. And then that needs to get financed. And so generally what we're seeing is a tail wagging the dog on the CDFI movement in the Northwest. We are collaborating with Shorebank Enterprise Cascadia to service CDFI, to help tribal CDFIs create an entrepreneurship development system, and they're doing the back office part of it, of the loan servicing and financing. And there's like 8 different CDFIs emerging. There's lots of capital around, but the deal flow is what's lacking. So it hasn't generated a lot of new businesses, but the businesses that are there, the mom and pop retail outfits, the gas stations, the hair salons, the wood carvers and other artists, they're all there in the community. And our challenge is to match and marry capital to their needs. And we hope that the CDFI can be a part of that solution.
We have a question over here.
Hello there. My name is Mary Lee Johns again, and I'm with Rio Tinto, Senior Advisor on Tribal Governments and Native Communities. My question is to the gentleman. I'm curious about your response to supply chain activities by identifying, I think that we really missed the boat when it came to the casinos. The fact that those casinos all over Indian country are being supplied by non-Indian operations. And I think that we have to be prepared to begin to develop our supply chains to these. I mean, that's where the action is, that's where the cash is. And yet we seem to, as Indian people, we don't look that far down the road. We look to the casino for providing us jobs, but we don't look to the actual supplying. We should be the entrepreneurs developing our businesses to supply the casinos or any other business. You know, you're talking about the rodeo, I'm sure you have an Indian contractor who, I know in South Dakota we have all these Indian contractors who have rodeo, they do the rodeo contracts. And so not only do they provide the bucking horses and the bulls and all that, but, you know, those are the kinds of things that I think that we as Indian people need to start looking at. And I'm just wondering what your response is to that.
It's an incredibly complex and interesting topic. We have an annual conference, Trading at the River, that it's a lot like this in terms of its tone and flavor, which we thoughtful discussion and talking about how traditions of commerce from the pre-contact can inform new ideas. And that issue is a constant workshop topic every year. We beat it up constantly over and over again. And there's the person that can best address that from a business model standpoint is John McCoy sitting next to you, because there are incredible, the dilemmas that, one of the things that is a very amazing and complex problem is the fact that the business model for a casino, for example, is almost requires a business model for supplying it that is mega in proportion, that does not favor an entrepreneurial approach. It might favor a tribal consortium, of which there is at least one now that is trying to be launched, that tries to address the enormous capacity problems that Cisco Systems, or what's the other major food supplier, they have solved those problems by being mega corporations. And so the entrepreneur, the efforts for the entrepreneurs to break into those purchasing systems is very complex, but it can be done. It just depends on what scale you approach it. And it's a whole topic in and of itself.
Well, the reason why I'm asking you that is because there is a model. And,
oh, good. I'd love to hear it.
Well, it's not so much the entrepreneur, but it's based upon a tribal model. These friends from Canada may have heard of Divec. It's our diamond mine. It's Rio Tinto's diamond mine in Northwest Territory. And what we did was we have an agreement with 6 communities. And what we did as a company is that we saw an opportunity to help develop a sustaining economic there in Northwest Territory. And so we went in and assisted the communities in developing trucking, which is the ice road truckers,
right.
The Clicho government. We also helped to develop a airline that supplies flies our workers in and flies our workers out. And so there are some models out there, and I'm one that I really believe that this model has to be done in other areas so that when a company wants to come in and do business with a tribe, then we need to be able to participate in the supply chain of that particular business if it's on our reservation. And that's why I say casinos is a perfect model for those kinds of things. Granted, it's becoming more of an older business model, but if we're going to begin to be developing anything else on our reservations, we need to begin to think about the supply chain, because that's where when you're talking about asset building, that's where asset building can be developed.
Yeah, and I completely agree on it, but it's what I'm saying is that I would disagree at one level. Is the casino may not be the best example, but there are other tribal enterprises over which the tribe has a lot more control over the price points that they have to pay in the marketplace that could be, that we are seeing are much more fertile ground for tribal enterprise and entrepreneurship relationships. The casinos are a little bit different problem, but there's still an opportunity.